Welcome everyone to my grounded 80 days. I previously had a video of days 1 to 10 which I have now deleted and chucked it in this video. I also was planning on doing this of 100 days, but I decided to go 80 days instead. And the goals of this video are pretty simple. Complete the game 100% in 80 days, which means complete every single boss. I also try to collect every single trinket, every single gold card, and a lot of other miscellaneous things. But before we start, this video is inspired by Paralyze's grounded 100 days and 150 days, so link to his channel will be in the description. This video also took quite some time, about 150 to 200 hours of recording and editing, so a like would be very appreciated. With that all out of the way, grab some popcorn, sit back, relax, or even chuck me on a second monitor. Enjoy the video. And as we start, of course the game mode is on WOAH and Hoops will be my character, naming the yard 100 days. Well, I first started off by just collecting some simple resources, pebblets, sprigs, plant fiber, sap, you name it, as well as getting some food, and then heading my way to a research station where I researched the sprig, the plant fiber, and the pebblet to make the pebblet axe. Then make my way and get some clover leaves and some dry grass, some basic resources, and then make my way into the red ant cave, collecting some brittle marble, brittle quartzite, as well as getting the rotten bee shin guards, the red ant bogle hill chip, and the rotten bee shoulder pads, as well as the rotten bee face guard, giving me the entire rotten bee armor set, as well as grabbing a scabby on the way out. Then I also grabbed a dandelion tuft, and then fought an orb weaver spider, as well as getting the parry master mutation. The orb weaver spider called back up, making it a 5v1, so I backed out of the fight, and then went to the spacer collecting some data, as well as killing some lawn mites, and then also killing the ones on top of the wire and the ones underground. And I went back to the spacer and activated it, unlocking the Oak Hill lab, bogle, and progressing the story. Making my way to the Oak Hill lab, I found another field station and researched some more materials, as well as making a temporary base on top of this log here. Then got some acorn shells and some sap, which I needed the sap for some bandages. I then made my way into the Oak Hill lab, as well as researching some more materials, and then reviving Burgle. After talking to Burgle, I gave him the red anthill chip, which I used to get the fiber bandage efficiency, as well as getting some Burgle quests. And then made some more fiber bandages and researched them, as well as placing some blueprints down in my base, then going out and collecting some more sap, as well as getting some more flower petals and killing some grubs for their meat, and a few red worker ants for their parts. Then made myself a lean-to where I could sleep, some roasting spits for food, and made myself a weevil shield. Then I placed some sap catchers down, as well as getting some weed stems, and that was the end of day 1. I then killed an orb weaver junior, and in doing so I got the tier 2 parry master mutation, as well as killing a bigger orb weaver, then getting some more thistle needles, and then getting trapped in this soda can as these spiders were blocking the exit. Then I grabbed some more clay, as well as getting this Chubb series scabby, and going to the 4-leaf clover, which gave me the Coup de Grace tier 1 mutation, as well as getting some upgrade materials. I then tested my luck fighting a wolf spider, and she hit me once and almost killed me, so I used all my bandages to stay alive, but eventually she went down, and then gaining the Mithraism tier 1 mutation, as well as forgetting I didn't put my crit chance mutation on. Then near the hedge I killed some lawn mites, gaining the tier 1 chopper mutation, as well as getting some berries for berry chunks, and discovering another field station and researching some more items. I then took a zip line near the hedge, and then got some more data as well as looting this chest, and then got greeted by some robots, and then activated the survey scanner. I then tested my luck getting some better tier items from these web sacks, but got nothing but nat fuzz, and then grabbed some more data, granola bars, a scabby, and looted this chest, as well as loot this chest on the ground, which I had no idea was here. Then I killed another spider, then threw a rock at this berry to bring it down to my level. Then killed another spider, and then I made my way into the soda can to get the legend scabby, and then in this broken building I got some raw science and more data, as well as collecting some more data in this weird area. I now flashbang you all, but I needed some nats for the nat fuzz and meat, and then I did some expanding to my base. I also made the spider shoulders and spider helmet, and then I wanted to make an insect bow, so I went out breaking some pebbles. While breaking the pebbles I got the rock cracker tier 1 mutation, as well as trying to kill a wolf spider, then getting jumped by a second one and running away in fear. Then it was time for round 2, and then got jumped by more bugs in the yard. Going back for a third time now, thinking I should be able to kill it, and then an orb weaver spider wants to come in and play. I am then pushed away near the water, and then the wolf spider jumps in the water and then drowns, make the loot water damage, which is really annoying. But then put my rage out on some spiders, as well as orb weaver junior. And then the 4th time I went and go kill this wolf spider, and killed it quite easily, giving me the parts for this insect bow, as well as getting some more brittle quartzite. I also tried killing another wolf spider, but then forgetting to block entirely, resulting in my first death of this WoW playthrough. But I retrieved my stuff, came back and killed her. During that I got the tier 1 cardio fan mutation, and then made the insect bow with some arrows and some venom arrows. And with that bow I went out and killed a ladybug, which dropped me a single part, which was annoying. The next day I went out and killed some stink bugs, as well as one-shotting this red ant here, and then killing some more stink bugs, giving me some really good parts on this one. And then this one stink bug had bad internet connection, pond, and then got sprayed at by this bombardier beetle, and then killed another bombardier beetle with my bow, and then fought a ladybug which almost one-shot me. It made the infected broodmother is a lot easier than these ladybugs, so that really says something. Then nearing the end of the day, I killed some more bombardier beetles, and then grabbed this poncho scabby, then upgraded my base, putting a jerky rack down. The next day I made the insect hammer and axe, as well as upgrading some of my gear, and then went out collecting about 150 pieces of clover, and then killing some red ants for their armor set as I would need it for hauling to make a new base. I also killed a red ant soldier, and in doing so I got the scabbed bug scabby, as well as collecting a tier 2 resource. With the full red ant armor set, I then went out and got some stems, and then made my way up to the oak tree. Now I'm not going to bore you with all this building, so this is what my base looked like at roughly around the end of the day, and then spruced up the place by putting some lights down. After a few days, I went out to the pond and did some burgle quests, as well as killing some water boatmen for their water boatman fins, which I would need for the pond lab later on. I also grabbed myself a mega milk molar, and also killing some more red ants, and then collecting this piece of data on this mixer. I then got tier 2 of ant annihilator, and to be honest, I didn't even realize I got tier 1. I then went and broken some ice cap mint for their shards, and got very lucky and got the suspicious ice cap mint, which is a 1% chance. I then gathered myself some crow feathers to get some more crow feather arrows, as well as getting a bunch of sprig over in this area here. I then ate quite a few mint shards, getting myself the tier 3 of fresh defense, and while I was here I got myself the rotten lava blade as well. I also picked up the girthscape scabby, and then gathering myself even more crow feathers. I then made my way into the hedge to get some milk molars, as well as doing this little trick jump here, getting myself a scabby and also another milk molar. And then fought another wolf spider which was guarding another milk molar. I then killed a bunch more red ants to hopefully get that gold card, and I didn't. I then bought a torch upgrade from Burgle Shop, and then also got myself another mega milk molar. Then by the end of the day I put some more sap scones down to light up my base. Day 10 I was back in the pond killing some more tadpoles for their meat, as well as collecting some lily pad wax, and then yet again getting even more crow feathers. I also grabbed myself another mega milk molar, and then cheesed this diving bell spider by shooting with arrows. Then I grabbed myself some toadstool chunk, then made my way back to the hedge to get more milk molars, and also getting the tier 1 of natural explorer, as well as another scabby. And then grabbed another scabby, as well as the broodmother BLT boss recipe, and then going into the hedge lab, grabbing all the password pieces, and also getting tier 2 of chopper while flying some Ruz teas, getting their gold card as well. And then mashed my hands on this keyboard, unlocking the door, getting myself the hedge super chip, super disc 1, picture of Wendell, and more data. And then spent the milk molars I got from the hedge, and at the very end of the day I also completed the spider set, as well as upgrading some of my gear. And that is the end of day 10. I started off the day by finishing off some blueprints that I had in my base, as well as killing an all beaver spider, and then gaining some pebbles and killing some lawn mites. I then killed the bombardier beetle for its parts as I need some boiling glands. I also gathered up some bits of clay, and then got myself the textbook scabby. Then over near the hedge I killed some more bombardier beetles, as well as grabbing some food from the floor, and then grabbing the compliance badge and pieces of data. I then also lagged hard grabbing the witchly scabby, as well as getting a milk molar on top of this juice box. I then made myself a repair tool and repaired my base. I then decorated my place up a little, and then made this cool little fireplace which gave me 2.5 of my coziness meter. The next morning I killed a bee for its fuzz, only giving me a single part, as well as upgrading my milk molars, and then killed another bee on my way to the upper yard, as well as picking up a milk molar as well. I then made my way over to the tipped over grill and got myself a mega milk molar. I then discovered a mixer, and then got cardiofan tier 2, and also got some upgrade materials. I then grabbed myself the entomologist badge and some data, and then went inside this milk molar bottle, giving myself 1 milk molar. I then made my way over to the trash heap to kill some black worker ants. I then lured out a black soldier ant and killed it outside. On the way home I also killed myself another bombardier beetle, and a few more on the way. I then researched all the black ant parts and bee fuzz, and then used my milk molars to get the max active mutations. I then inserted my first duper disc inside the computer, and then researched more materials. Then the next morning I made myself a black ant shovel, and then gave Burgle a super chip. And then I unlocked the zip lines from the Burgle shop, and then I built the zipline anchor facing towards the sandbox and the picnic table. I then went out and killed some grubs, as well as killing some infected bugs for their fungal growth, and then I went and stole a red ant egg, and then made some bombs. I also grabbed myself the sad stab scabby, and then I used a bomb to make the shovel fall down, granting me access to the picnic table. Then at the picnic table I made a zipline wall anchor. I then took out a bee after she stabbed me a few times, and then I also took out some black worker ants on top of the picnic table. Then inside the Moldork maze I got some crow feather pieces and some chewed bubblegum. And then the rest of the night I killed bees, and luckily got the gold card on my 20th kill. I then grabbed the dog loaf scabby, and then here's a quick look at all my gold cards. Quite lucky, I do say so myself. I then broke myself some chewed gum, and stuck under it was a mega milk molar. And then the next day I wanted to make myself the bone dagger. But first I killed a bugged out wolf spider, which gave me tier 2 of mithridism, and then took on a 2v1 fight with wolf spiders, and then collected a bunch of sap and acorn shells. And then I made my way into the lower depths of the pond, grabbing myself some muddy scales and sunken bones, as well as grabbing the rotten rotten stinger spear, and then crafted myself the bone dagger, and then got some eelgrass strands with the said bone dagger. I then made myself some silk rope, and the next morning I made myself the gill tube and fin flops, and I also made some fuzz on the rocks smoothies, and discovered another field station near the pond. I then made my way over to the pond lab, where I got some data, a picture of Wendell, and the rotten slime lantern, as well as turning on the breaker and getting some pieces of data. I also stole pretty much everything from inside all these chests here, and then got myself the toxicology badge, turned on one of the breakers, and got myself a milk molar. I then went over and turned on the last two of the breakers, now granting me access into the pond lab. Before I did that, I grabbed myself some more muddy scales and sunken bones, as well as grabbing a bunch of algae, and then getting myself the mossy key. I then grabbed about 150 pieces of algae, which I would use in more smoothies, and then got greeted by this one robot who just shoots electricity everywhere. Make my way through the lab, I also got myself the ginger spice scabby, and getting tier 3 of rock cracker, and also getting the koi figurine. I then killed some more robots, and even more robots, and then the archive gave me its gold card. I then picked up this Shallows scabby, and grabbed myself the pond super chip, duper disc number 2, and the Mertine mutation. And then went around and grabbed a bunch of mussel sprouts for smoothies, and then getting distracted once again. Outside of the pond lab, I grabbed myself another milk molar, as well as killed the water boatman and got its gold card on its first try. I then used the mossy key to get the sunken outpost burgle chip, as well as a mega milk molar. And the next day I spent majority of my time in the pond trying to get some gold cards, as well as grabbing the rotten fin flops, and killing some water fleas, and grabbing myself yet again another mega milk molar, as well as collecting some nectar. Then I made my way to Burgle, gave him the pond super chip and the sunken outpost chip. I then grabbed myself the shine bright scabby, and then getting myself yet again another milk molar. I then decorated my place a little more, giving myself level 3 of coziness and tier 2 of hauling hero. Then that night I made my way back over to the picnic table, where I grabbed myself yet again another milk molar, and then I made my way into the sandbox. Then dug up the skeleton, granting me the biomedical badge, and then digging up the melted moat key. In the sandbox I found another field station, and then decided to kill an antlion. Then I unlocked this chest, granting me the waterlogged recipe and a milk molar. The waterlogged recipe now gives me the salt morning star. I then grabbed myself some spicy shards, and then for the rest of the night killed myself even more antlions until the very morning. With the antlion parts I made the antlion poncho and antlion spurs, but did not have enough for the antlion wide brim. I then placed down some garden patches and started to grow some mussel sprouts. I've never really done this before, so I actually have no idea what I'm doing here. I then took my zipline again all the way back to the picnic table and grabbed myself the Minotaur maze key. With the key I opened the chest, giving me the picnic table burgle chip and then getting assaulted by a bee. I also picked up the RPG module and the mega milk molar inside. I then made my way back over to the tipped over grill and killed some ladybird larvae, as well as getting another milk molar and some ever charcoal chunks. I then used my tier 2 shovel to get some buried treasure, and then killed a bunch of spiderlings as I needed more web fiber. Then I killed some dust mites, which always gave me a single part, which was really disappointing. And then grabbed myself a milk molar inside this pipe here, and then discovered yet another field station and researched the materials I grabbed. On my way home I also grabbed myself the Frankenline scabby, and then used my milk molars to upgrade most of my max health and a little bit of stamina, as well as my max resource sack size. And at home I made some human food smoothies, as well as a little bit of liquid rage and more green machines. I then repaired majority of my gear. In day 18 I made myself the stinger spear and upgraded it to level 4, as well as making a zipline anchor near the barbecue. I then used my new spear to kill some ladybird larvae, as well as get this milk molar on this bike here. I then wanted to kill a termite soldier for its parts to make the termite axe, so that's what I did, and getting very lucky to get the 2 chompers which I needed. I also discovered a field station, giving me tier 2 of natural explorer, and then I researched the termite parts. While in the upyard I grabbed myself some more spicy shards, as well as another milk molar. And near the tipped over barbecue I killed a wolf spider, granting me tier 3 of mithridism, and the next day I made myself some salt arrows, and painfully shot this antlion for far too long. I then bullied this one antlion, and then found the jackpot for spicy shards. I also went into the antlion den, giving myself some salt shards, as well as the crusty roly-poly breastplate. Then I grabbed the mega milk molar on the way out, and then I dug up some buried treasure, and then got the abomination totem recipe. Day 20 I harvested my mussel sprouts, and I killed some grubs in the lava cave, gaining the gold card. While I was down here I found a field station, some upgrade materials, the gunmetal scabby and a mega milk molar. I then invaded this wolf spider's home, taking his milk molar on the way out. I made my way to the hedge to get myself some more web fiber, and while I was here I went to the bird bath and got myself the hedgeberry scabby as well as a milk molar. I then used my mega milk molars to upgrade my max consumable stack size. The next morning I made myself a bunch of green machine smoothies, and then took a dive into a pipe, giving me 500 raw science, a mega milk molar and the sewage scabby. At the end of the pipe I made my way into the Haze lab, and then got very lucky and get the infected weevil gold card on my first try. I also looted the skeleton for the defense badge, and then fought the infected ladybug as it's the boss for the Haze, but then got trapped in a corner and died. And then on my second attempt, she went down quite easily, giving myself the truffle tussle mutation, and then grabbed myself the Haze super chip, duper disc 3, and some bombs. I then built around this mixer and completed it, giving myself 2000 raw science and tier 1 of guard dog. I then went to Burgle and gave him the chips that I have collected. I then bought the mint mace recipe, the milk molar scanner, as well as the buff lungs and daredevil mutations. Day 22 was a resource one where I collected rocks, and I also got the Javelier tier 1, some clay, as well as getting lucky enough to get the gold card for the lava. And with the resources I collected, I then expanded upon my base, making 3 ovens and a load of jerky racks. I also built the Weevil statue, which gave me level 4 of coziness and maxing out my hauling hero mutation. Then later that night I got my first invasion from orb weaver spiders. Day 23 I got a milk mullet in the sandbox, as well as grabbing myself the corporate issue scabby in the black anthill. And while I was here I decided to complete the black anthill lab. So I broke this piece of glass with my bomb and then started the assistant manager boss fight. Now the boss fight was really easy because I was really overpowered with some gear, and about a minute later he went down, giving me his gold card, 1000 raw science, the shocking dismissal mutation, and his key card. I then grabbed the black lab super chip as well as some data and a picture of Wendell. I tell you what, he's not looking very good, is he? Also, here is a quick look at how many gold cards I've collected so far. I then used the system manager key card to get myself the sandbox burgle chip as well as some resources. I also grabbed myself even more charcoal chunks and then gave Burgle the chip I just collected, inserting my super discs as well as getting the flavored glob recipes, which allows me to make elemental weapons. I then ended off the night by making a bunch of spicy globs. Day 24, the Ladybird Lava and I teamed up on this roly-poly, and then I killed another roly-poly, teaming up once more. I then got jumped by 2 ladybirds, but eventually killed both of them, as well as killing some more for their parts. I then shot down some pupa with my bow to get myself some pupa leather. I then found another field station, researching the roly-poly and ladybird parts. I then went into this cave, gaining myself the intern badge, as well as hitting the jackpot of all milk molars. I then grabbed myself some lint, and then on the way home, grabbing all the muscle sprouts from the pond lab. With all the resources I collected the previous day, I made myself the entire roly-poly armor set, as well as upgrading each piece to level 8 bulky. I also made myself the ladybird shield, and then grabbed myself the defense badge, as well as 3 BLTs, and then fought the broodmother. I then killed her on my very first attempt, giving me her parts as well as the mum genes mutation, and then I killed her for a second time, gaining even more parts. And then with those parts I made the club of the mother demon and brought it down the mighty path. I also made myself the gas mask and got myself the panfish scabby as well as the billy hog horror. Day 26 I killed myself a black ox beetle, which gave me 1 single part, and then I killed another one, gaining even more parts. I then went into this termite den, grabbing myself some brittle marble shards and the high density scabby, as well as a mega milk molar and some pieces of data. I was still a few parts short for the black ox hammer, so I killed another one, gaining enough parts. I also killed a moth, my very first one ever in Grounded. I then did this little ball puzzle and got myself a milk molar. I then made my way to this pink car, gaining myself a mega milk molar and some upgrade resources in the back. I then grabbed myself a porridge scabby and another milk molar, as well as making my way into this pond lab here, gaining more resources. I then cooked up a bunch of mint globs. On the morning of the next day I made myself the black ox hammer and used it to collect some rust, which I then used to make the rusty spear and upgraded it down the fresh path level 8. I then went into the Haze, discovering a field station and then plugging up the weed killer with a piece of gum. With that I then did a mixer and killed some infected lava and got lucky enough to get the gold card, and completing it gave me 2000 raw science. I then spent the majority of the night in the Haze little dunes and got some brittle marble and other resources. I then made my way up to this spacer and got the grey stone scabby. On day 28 I expanded my base a little and phased the zipline to the hedge, and at the hedge I then did the mixer and granted me another 2000 raw science. I now also wanted to make myself a tick blade, but before I did that I killed myself a 1 black widow, giving me some pretty good parts. I then broke some tier 3 web stacks, getting some tier 3 parts as well as killing some black widowlings. I ate some sour shards, gaining me tier 1 of sour sensation. I then finally killed some ticks, giving me enough parts for the tick blade. I then got the tick blade and made it down the level 8 salty path. Day 29 I made my way to the full sized scabby and used my tier 3 ox hammer to bust it back and replace it with the scabby fuse. I went inside the ashtray and got some toenails as well. I did some parkour and got myself 500 raw science as well as a mega milk molar. I gathered myself a bunch of sour lumps and some pinecone pieces. I then went behind this pot and grabbed myself a milk molar and I stuck my hand in this chewing gum to get the table gum scabby. And then this bee tried to steal my milk molar. I made my way into the fire ant cave and got myself a bunch bunch of upgrade materials, as well as a milk molar and the swole scabby. And while I was down here, I did the parkour challenge, giving myself a mega milk molar. And I spelt my milk molars on my max stamina. I made my way into the pond, grabbed myself the left elf charm, as well as pushing this button opening the stump lab. I then rolled a 20 on this dice, maxing out my cryptogram mutation. In the sandbox, I killed an antlion, which was very lucky and gave me her gold card. I then gathered myself a bunch of salt in the salt mines. I also did the mixer while I was in the sandbox, granted myself 2000 raw science and tier 2 of guard dog. Day 31, I did the last little mixer, giving myself 2000 raw science. I then made my way into the most dangerous cave in the game, the ladybird lava cave. While I was down here, you guessed it, I killed a bunch of ladybird lava, got myself a milk molar and some upgrade resources, and was very lucky to get its gold card as well. In the cave, I got myself 5 ladybird lava trinkets. And ending the day, I made antlion set and upgraded it to level 8 bulky. And with that, I then did the spicy Coltana lockdown, granting me the recipe. Over at the Termite hill, I grabbed this little bag which had 5 twinkling shells in it, and went inside the termite hill and killed a bunch of termites, as well as killing the termite king, and then getting the woodpile bogle chip. I then broke some more tier 3 web sacks and killed some black wedderlings, and got lucky and got the gold card on my 7th kill. Day 33, I made the black ox crossbow and leveled it up to level 8 mighty, as well as making some feather arrows. I then made myself an aphid trap, but eventually it didn't work, so it doesn't really matter anyway. I then gathered a bunch of berry chunks in the hedge and got myself a whole stack of rust. And that evening I got invaded by some termites, and then eventually I got jumped by an infectable spider and he killed me by this stupid 3-shot combo which you can't block. So I went back and tried to kill him and got killed by that same 3-shot combo again. And later that night I discovered a field station in the upper yard, as well as going to the stump, which I went into the stump lab, grabbed the Mantis boss recipe, some milk molars, the stump bogle chip, some resources, as well as the right elf charm. I then harvested this dead green shield bug in the ground and spoke to Bogle, giving him the woodpile chip and the new chip I acquired, gaining a bunch of recipes. I was now able to make supreme plating and whetstone plating, as well as all the jewels, so I can now max out my gear and my weapons. I crafted a bunch of spicy jewels. I then made my way over to the trash heap, getting the meaty nat card, as well as a mega milk molar, and a regular milk molar as well. I also killed a bunch of black worker ants, as well as some antlions. The next morning I made myself a bunch of salt arrows, which I then used to kill some wasps. And then I broke down their small wasp hive, getting some wasp paper. I then took out a black widow that was nearby, and then researched the new wasp parts that I collected. And then broke this donut, which I got completely scammed by getting nothing. I then went over to another wasp hive, killed some more wasps. And then I killed a wasp drone and got lucky enough to get its gold card on the 2nd kill. I then got the warning saying the wasp hive was now disturbed, as well as getting the weevil card, which I don't know why it took this long to get. Day 36, I got the cutscene of the wasps coming out of the brawny boy bin. And then I decided to enter the bin, and then found 2 black widow spiders, and I took them on one by one. And then broke open this web sack which had some black oxhorn parts in it, as well as the Witto Whittling trinket. And then I also grabbed the milk molar and another one, and then grabbed the condiment jockey scabby. I then discovered the large disassembled Haze, which gave me tier 3 of natural explorer, maxing it out. I then got some sour lumps, as well as the shield solidifier trinket. I then took out every single wasp in the brawny boy bin. I grabbed the milk molar on top of the Haze, as well as breaking some hot char candy, and then got lucky enough to get the hot char charm, which is another 1% drop. And then went to the wasp nest and got the wasp queen boss recipe, as well as the forgotten bogle chip. I then climbed up these vines near the lawnmower, grabbing me the sticky key and some ice cap mints, and then went inside the tire and opened the chest, giving me 2 milk molars, as well as the recipe for bomb arrows. I crafted myself a single bomb arrow, and then the next day I used that bomb arrow to explode open this piece of gum, granting me the sticky fingers trinket. I then gave the forgotten bogle chip to Burgle and bought some items in his shop, gaining the candy staff's recipe, as well as the dissection expert mutation. I then made my way into the hedge and killed the hedge broodmother using the dissection expert mutation, gaining more parts, and also got the gold card. I then killed her around about 4 to 5 more times and got about 24 chunks. Also, here is a quick look at how many gold cards I've gotten so far. I've gotten roughly around about 24 here. That night I made myself the fire ant shield, went into the Undershed and got the frost bitten recipe. I grabbed myself a milk molar and began to traverse the Undershed. I went inside this pipe and killed some scarabs, and with the dissection expert mutation I got 12 twinkling shells from just 4 scarabs. I then went into this hole and killed a bunch of Orby spiders to get the gold card, and sadly I didn't. I then made my way into the Black Widow den and took out her quite easily, and then got myself a mega milk molar. And then made my way into the Undershed lab, and then took out all of its occupants. I then stabbed the man in the back when he wasn't looking, and initiating my favorite fight in the entire game. But he went down quite quickly, considering my weapons and my gear were all effective to him. Killing him, I got 1000 raw science, the Mant gold card, the Trapper Peeper tier 1, as well as the Mantis Stranger mutation. I then said hello to Wendell, as well as grabbing the glorious recipe, and then grabbed the Wendell statue, getting me a tier 2 of Rascal Row, and making my way out of the lab. Because I was near the Termite den, I killed the Termite King, getting a bunch of tough gunk. In 38, I maxed out my max resource stack size, as well as my max healing. I then made my way to the Java-matic, and cracked open the glass with a bomb, and then grabbed the Java-matic Scabby on top. I then placed the empty embiggening cell, and then broke a billy hog and saw a little package come out of it. It was the everlasting hog stopper, which is probably the best trinket in the entire game, another 1% chance drop as well. I then went home and then probably refined about 400 materials just by spamming W. I then placed down 2 fresh storages, which now is kind of useless considering of the everlasting hog stopper, but anyway. I also grabbed the crusty roly-poly leggings, which I didn't grab previously, and then killed a bunch of antlions and grabbed some salt, hopefully getting the salt charm, which I never did. Later that night I got Thor's pendant, as well as getting a mega milk molar, and killing this moth on top, getting some decent loot I guess. I'm not sure if that's good or not. And then I got on top of the stump, getting a mega milk molar and a regular milk molar. And then got into a big fight down at the bottom of the stump, almost dying, but got out. Day 39, I killed another black widow and got probably the worst parts ever, as well as grabbing some toenails. Home, I made the Wendell statue using a very expensive resources to make it. I also made myself the spicy staff and upgraded it to level 5. I then used that stuff to blow up the entire anthill, and in doing so I got tier 1 of Whittle Wizard, and then for the rest of the night I was just playing around with the spicy staff. I also made myself the Widow Dagger and upgraded down the salty path. And day 40 I was just killing a bunch of different bugs in the lower yard, as well as getting some grubs for their grub sludge. And I got invaded by some all-weaver spiders to end the night off. But before that, I tested my spicy staff on the infected wolf spider and, you guessed it, died in 3 shots. So it's been noted that the only way I can kill this thing is by killing with arrows and cheesing it. Also, just take a look at this. I was sitting here on this leaf for a while and then for some reason it just exploded for some reason, resulting in my death. I don't even know what happened here. So I came back for revenge and killed it and giving it a gesture on the way out. On day 41 it was pretty much just me just taming aphids and then killing it, hopefully getting the speed droplet, which I never did. So rest in peace little buddy, you survived for about 3 seconds. After about half a day of doing the aphids, I then gave up and collected a bunch of clay, as well as the next day collecting a bunch of rocks, as well as getting jumped by this infected lava from God knows where, resulting in almost a full inventory worth of rocks and clay. I wanted to expand my base a little more so I can have a stuffed bug trophy area, and this is what it looked like after I finished the floor. I wanted to make little areas like a tier 1 area and then also a tier 2 area and so on, and this is what it looked like by the end of the day. Day 43 I went out and killed about like 50 odd bees, as I needed a lot of bee fuzz for the stuffed bugs. Who would have thought? And by the end of it, I got about 2.5 stacks worth of bee fuzz. I then went into the red anthill and bombed them for a bit of fun, and surprisingly got the red workaround gold card, which I finally got about after 200 kills. And the game must have liked me on this day, because I also got the red soldier and gold card. I also grabbed eggs at the red anthill and then used it to make bombs, which I then blew up with clovers, because I didn't want to come down because I was too lazy. And by the end of it, I had about 480 clover leaves. And then spent a little bit more time in the nighttime finishing off some stuffed bugs in the area. Day 44, the infected wolf spider respawned, so I had to take it out to show who's boss. I then shot this weevil here, and as a reward, he gave me his gold card. About midday, I killed a bunch of ladybirds and then got some pupa leather. I then took out another infected wolf spider, and they're really easy now that I've figured out that I can just out-heal their 3-shot combo attack. But the main reason I was up in the upper yard to get some dust mite fuzz, which I would use to stuff the tier 3 bugs. I also went inside the termite den and then killed some termite workers from all of their parts. On the morning of day 45, I made myself some sour globs, and then made myself the sour staff and upgraded it to level 5. I then killed yet another infected wolf spider. I'm pretty much the king of wolf spiders here now. I then took out some wasps, as their nests were hiding out next to a milk molar in this tree here. I then built my way over using mushroom bricks to the Moldork castle, and while at the Moldork castle I got the Moldork scabby, a milk molar, and then I killed a moth using the sour staff. I really like the sour staff, it's kind of cool to use, and getting some mediocre parts. I then parkoured my way down the Moldork castle and found a mega milk molar just sitting here in this cage. And then I investigated this lab that was underneath the Moldork castle, which had a milk molar on the side of it, as well as a fire ant just sitting there looking at me. And then Dr. Tully said it was not his lab, so whose lab could it be? Well, in here I got the moldy note, which was the infected broodmother boss summon, as well as the Moldork figurine. Day 46 I was back in the compost bin, taking out all the wasps yet again, as well as getting a scabby that I left behind. And then I killed the 2 black widows that were sitting back here in the cave. First one gave me some pretty good drops, and then the second one gave me terrible drops. I then spent spent the rest of the day in the salt mines getting some salt to hopefully get the salt trinket. Spoiler alert, I didn't. I made my way back into the pipe, into the Undershed, killing some more scarabs and gaining 17 twinkling shells from just 4 scarabs. I then killed every single orb weaver in this pit again, and sadly didn't even get the gold card after like maybe the 80th kill. Although the gold cards are a 1 in a 100 chance, so I still got 20 more kills to go to guarantee the gold card, I hope. Down this cave I got some red ant eggs, and then later down I got some more red ant eggs. And then at home I smelted some ash cement. I needed a buttload of this if I wanted to do the super mixes later on. I also finished up my trophy area to a certain extent by just putting some clover roofs down. I also grabbed a bunch more of the charcoals as I needed more charcoal for ash cement. And then I also made a hot tub which had built-in RGB in it. On day 48 I then duplicated some Mantis boss summons. I then drank a bunch of smoothies and some meals to get me some buffs. I then killed the Mantis by just running around shooting with salt arrows, a very boring way but efficient way, getting the Apex Predator mutation as well as its parts. And then I killed it again, this time using my sour staff, and got lucky enough to get its gold card on my second kill. And then for the third time I had a black ox burger and 5 bandages left, so I did the boss fight once again, gaining even more parts, but sadly no trinket this time. Back at home I made myself the entire assassin set, as well as trying to place this Mantis down, which for some reason had a location obstructed, which was in an open area, so I have no idea what's going on here. I then upgraded all my gear to sleek, maxing it out, but missing 4 supreme plating for my leggings. I then made myself a few different meals for buffs which I would use in the Wasp Queen boss fight. Day 49 I broke the Wendell statue which had some supreme plating, so sorry Wendell. I then maxed out my entire set of assassin gear and made a bunch of sticky and muscle sprout smoothies. In my mind I thought I made a lot, but to be honest I made not enough. I also needed some more twinkling shells, so I saw a scarab and then jumped it from behind, granting me only 2 parts. Like, come on man, give me more than that, right? I also made my way into the fridge in the Undershed to get the Black Ox Burger, which gives me a max health boost and a damage resist. I then finished off the day by maxing out my Widow Dagger down the salty path to level 9. With that I drank a bunch of smoothies giving me some buffs and damage resist, and then summoned the Wasp Queen. And the first time I fought her, I didn't do really well and wasn't watching my health bar and died. And on my second attempt I used my smoothies way too quickly and then eventually died once again. But as they say, third time's a charm, and about 20 minutes later I finally killed the Wasp Queen. Now in my opinion this is probably the hardest boss in WOAH mode considering all the summons and healing, but I haven't first infected broodmother yet, so that's my opinion is still up in the air. Clicking here you get the Bardic Inspiration mutation and no gold card, which I mean I spent 20 minutes doing this, come on man. On day 50 I was mentally drained over that wasp fight after it took about 20 minutes, so I tested my luck only bringing 2 buffs and 18 bandages and taking on direct Schmector, seeing how far I can go. Now while I was fighting him I was fully aware that I wouldn't be able to kill him because my Oxhammer was only level 7 sour. Like not even a minute later he was already at half HP, so I was like there is no way I'm killing him with no buffs, right? And about 5 bandages later he was finally dead in like under 4 minutes, gaining me the corporate kickback mutation as well as the Omni Dart disc, which gives us the good ending to the game as well as some crafting recipes and his gold card. Now I was just in shock for like the next probably 3 minutes or so because I killed him so quickly. Keep in mind this is still in WOAH mode and I killed him with the level 7 busting axe, which is he's resistant to, but the Wasp Queen wouldn't die with a max level Widow Dagger. Like what? I then expanded my base a little more, getting a bunch of garden patches down and then getting around about I think it was like 40 to 60 weed stems to complete them all. In the morning of day 51 I had them pretty much all complete besides one. I killed some bees as I would need to kill 5 of them for a burgle quest, granting 1000 raw science. I then created a bunch of tier 1 gear as I wanted to show them off in a chest, and look at how neat and tired this chest looks like next to all the tier 1 stuffed bugs. Later that night I killed 5 fireflies, granting 1000 raw science. Morning of day 52 I got a bunch of pinecone pieces which I would then use to make some large storage chests, and then later that evening I made some more coziness items and stood in the right spot, getting coziness level 5, which gave me the flex emote, a bunch of items, but most importantly the petal bed, which pretty much gives me an all-day defensive boost when I sleep in it. I was over in the hedge farming some spiderlings for mutations and got assassin tier 1 as well as smasher tier 1. Day 53 I was back in the salt mines. Imagine if I got the Of course I get the salt trinket now after I kill the Mantis and Wasp Queen, which are both resistant to salty damage. I then chopped this apple and this antlion was like, nope, you ain't getting this one, and launched it pretty much all the way over the sandbox. I gathered a bunch of charcoal that have just respawned, and I went behind the barbecue and got 500 raw science. At night I went to the Moldor castle and killed a moth, granting me just enough fuzz to finish my petal bed. I also killed more fireflies for a quest and luckily got its gold card. Day 54 I deposited all the ingredients inside the Java-matic so I could now commence brewing. But then I got the cutscene of having insufficient power and red fire ants were breaking the mixer modules. So I took them out and forgot to bring a repair tool. So later I came back and fixed the mixer modules. And Wendell and I had a chat and he showed me the Java-matic storage facility, which I grabbed the Mantis figurine as well as some smoothies inside. I was back in the Undershed in the pipe grabbing some more twinkling shells. Then I killed this dust mite in the same pipe and got its gold card. And then I went back into the Orb Weaver den and hopefully I got the gold card, and yes I did. But it doesn't stop there because I also got the Spiny Water Flea gold card. I also tried to get 4 gold cards by killing all the roly-polies here, but sadly I didn't. I made my way into the termite nest and killed every single termite and didn't get a single gold card drop. I then jammed out to some music for a little bit, and then I killed the termite king for the 4th time, and yet no gold card. I then took some well-deserved rest in my new petal bed. I then tried to get the little fist mutation from spiderlings, but then got interrupted by an infected wolf spider. At my base I made a bunch of smoothies, and for some reason the wolf spider got stuck in this log here, like it must be bugged or something. Haha, I made a bug joke in Grounded. But then he popped out of nowhere and I showed him who's boss. I then killed a few stink bugs for another burgle quest, giving me 1,000 raw science, and then revisited the trash heap and then grabbing the crossy roly-poly helmet which I missed previously. And then wiped out the black anthill for like the 4th time and still no gold card from either of the ants. Day 57 I killed another black widow which gave me some pretty decent drops I must say. Also I grabbed 2 toenail smells here. I grabbed a milk molar that was guarded by 2 black ox beetles in this little cave. I also took out a green shield bug, gaining some parts which I'll then need for the sour battle axe. But not just yet. For right now I was killing every single fire ant in the anthill for another gold card drop which was never seen. Day 58 I shot this moth who fell at least 10 stories down in grounded terms, and the same thing happened with another one near the log. This fire ant somehow wedged itself under this bench and I couldn't kill it. I then spent some milk molars at my max arrow stack size and grabbed some toenails in the ashtray. I also threw about 4 or 5 bombs trying to crack open this rock and eventually broke it. Inside was a milk molar as well as tier 3 and tier 2 upgrade materials. At home my muscle memory took over and I sorted my all cleaned up storage of tier 1 equipment. Day 59 I made the mint mace and upgraded it to level 7. I then finally decided to do some super mixes, and then on the first attempt it was going really well. I almost got there but it just broke. And on my second attempt they didn't even get through the main defenses. And as a reward I got 4,000 raw science. I also killed another black widow and once again got blessed with even more good parts. On day 60 I did another super mixer, making a whole 4 around this one mixer, and once again they got through the final defenses but I just got it off in time. And another 4,000 raw science as my reward. Day 61 I did the final super mixer, making a giant tower and a giant wall to block out the tiger mosquitoes, and then sat up here like a little wizard shooting down sour and spicy globs. The tiger mosquitoes were breaking through my mushroom wall, but nothing I haven't done before. I just took them out quick and easy. And this green shield bug was meant to attack the mixer but got distracted, which was actually really useful. I then jumped down from my fort, taking out majority of the tiger mosquitoes that were here because they were just about to break the final defenses, completing the final mixer, gaining tier 3 of guard dog, and completing every mixer in the game. This one is apparently the hardest mixer in the game, but in my opinion the previous mixer was quite difficult. I built up this flower box near the sandbox and got myself a mega milk molar inside of it. Over at the trash heap again I got the Garbo Scabby, got a mega milk molar inside this crushed can, and discovered another field station and the final piece of miscellaneous data. In the black anthill I blasted open this rock and inside was a mega milk molar, but the main reason I was here was to collect my reward for doing all the mixes, getting the prod smacker and a bunch of tier 3 resources. I also built a zipline near the Haze so it'd be easier to come here for the infected broodmother boss fight. Day 63 I made the toenail sword, upgrading it fully down the fresh path, which would be the killer of the infected broodmother eventually. But first I tested it out on this infected wolf spider and he seemed to like it. I somehow missed out on this Puncho discovery, which I've definitely been here at least like 3 to 4 times now, unlocking the juicy mutation as well with it. And I also discovered the milk carton, which once again I've definitely been here at least over 5 times now because bombardier beetles spawn here. I made my way into this weird looking lab, getting the pinch whacker, some tier 3 resources as well as the rotten berry charm. I then cheesed this black widow milk molar just by jumping up by throwing planks in the ground, but I feel like I cheated, so then I went down and killed the black widow anyway. I then parkoured my way up to the wheelbarrow, discovering my last field station and unlocking every location in the game, as well as unlocking my last mega milk molar and my very last regular milk molar. Day 64 I made myself the tadpole pudding meal, and with that I went into the secret little place in the pond, getting the last pond research note as well as another scabby. I then got suspicious of these 2 tadpoles just sitting here, and of course my suspicions were correct as one of them had the gold card. I then spent my entire day in the pond doing some burgle quests and trying to get some more gold cards. And then this wolf spider thought he could live in my clover roof, which I just wasn't having it. I then spent my last ever milk molars and had everything maxed out, I then used my 35,000 raw science to get the science scanner and some science sets, only needing 3 more to go. Day 65, I spent the entire day going throughout the entire map collecting different pieces of data that I had missed. I also killed a black worker ant and got its gold card, finally. I then collected the final piece of data in the black anthill, meaning we have now collected every single piece of data in the game. Day 66, in the morning I chopped down some berries in the hedge, and then I went behind this paint bucket and got the laser corp scabby, and then built my way up to this laser, getting the hyper blaster scabby, and the rest of the day I was trying to kill things with my sword, trying to max out my blade master mutation. Day 67, I killed the infected wolf spider and stole the volatile fang, which is a really rare trinket and a really hard one to get at that. But to be honest, it's not really that good. I then spent 4,000 raw science duplicating the wasp queen head, which I would then use to make the moldy hoagie. In other words, the infected broodmother boss item. So I fought the broodmother, stealing some chunks off her, and I got quite lucky and got the infected broodmother trinket, and my reaction is just... Sorry, this is my very first time ever getting a boss trinket, so my reaction is plausible. But after quite the long fight, she finally went down, getting the Spore Lord mutation and some quite decent parts. At home, I made the infected broodmother throne and sat and basked in my glory. On day 68, I thought I was lucky enough to get the Mantis trinket today, but as it turns out, I killed the Mantis about 4 to 5 times and still no trinket. But I did get some pretty good parts. I then went home and harvested all the big mussel sprouts and made a bunch of spicy globs and jewels. But I didn't have enough, so on day 69, I got some twinkling shells. I also stole all of Wendell's food that was sitting here in the fridge. I killed the wolf spider and thankfully it gave me its gold card. Late that night I made a widow dagger and maxed it out down the spicy path. With the new spicy dagger I killed the hedge broodmother and she gave me her broodmother trinket in return. I then killed her again and without realizing I got the broodmother trinket again. Oh, there we go. I now only needed 5 more trinkets. The Mantis trinket, the Wasp Queen trinket, the Fungal Growth trinket, the Sour Wormhole trinket, and the Crow trinket. Day 70 I made some pet houses and then got myself a pet weevil. For no reason. I then spent the entire day tracking down crow feathers in hopes of getting the crow feather trinket. Day 71, I woke up to being invaded by infected bugs. I then jumped off my base onto this lamp here and got the aerobic scabby, the final scabby we needed. I also tried getting the speed droplet from aphids and had no luck. But I guess I did have a little bit of luck because I got the suspicious ice shard once again. I then murdered a lot of black soldier ants in hopes of getting the gold card, which I never did. I don't know why, but these sour wormholes in the compost bin always respawn every single day. So every day from day 70 through the day 80, I was here trying to get the trinket, which I never did. Day 72, I fought the Mantis trying to get the trinket, but didn't watch my health bar and then died. Fun fact, this is my last death in the 80 days. After I died, I came back and the Mantis felt bad for me and she gave me the trinket, which was very nice of her. But I wasn't very nice to her back and killed her for the very last time, as she serves no purpose anymore in this run. Day 73, I was back in the compost bin killing the Wasp Queen once again, and oh hey, there's the Wasp Queen trinket. After mentally draining me again, I killed her and she rewarded me with another trinket in the exact same fight. Talk about luck. But I killed her once more for more wasp heads in the infected broodmother boss item. And this was also the last time I killed the wasp queen. I also went to the lava cave to do some burgle quests, and then I whacked this aphid and got the speed droplet from him. Getting 3 trinkets in one day is insane. Day 74, I collected a bunch of toenails and twinkling shells, and then I showed off how many gold cards I had. I think I had about 28 here. Day 75, I broke some funguses in hopes of getting the trinket. And then later that day I got bored, so I fought the infected broodmother again, and this time she gave me her gold card. I then broke the infected broodmother throne and instead made the stuffed version of her, meaning we now made every single stuffed bug in the game. Day 76, I took out this black widow where she was guarding 2 toenails which I needed. And during the day I did some burgle quests, and then duplicated the moldy hoagie boss item 4 times. I then went and killed the infected broodmother as she gave me some decent parts, and then back to back I killed her again, gaining even more parts. Day 77, this sour wormhole was guarded by a black ox beetle, and as I broke it, he called back up. I then got bored again and defeated the infected broodmother once more, gaining some more parts, and to be honest, I would rather kill the infected broodmother 100 times than the wasp queen once. I then killed her for the very last time, and in return, she said goodbye and gave me another infected broodmother trinket. And then on my way home, I killed an infected mite and got its gold card. Day 78, I've made the infected broodmother weapon, but then the second I realized it can damage itself, I never used it again. I then got some charcoal for ash cement, which I would then use in the final defense. I then broke some more haze fungus and I saw something pop out, and there it was, the fungal charm. It's funny how I keep getting useful items after I defeated the boss that it's really relevant to, but anyway, pause the video if you want, but here is the final collection of my trinkets in the 80 days. Day 79, I spent the entire day building around all the important mixer modules, and then I placed a bunch of mushroom bricks on the ground to distract the enemies. I think I made a little too much, no? I made some super gas arrows and some sour arrows, and then I made a max sour mantis claw weapon. And to finish off the day, I made some orc disruptor bombs, which to be honest aren't really worth it because they're actually quite bad, which I found out for myself in the final defense. Day 80, my very last day in the backyard. I got hit by this wasp and then somehow took me off course, which I thought was pretty funny. I did some final burgle quests, granting me 700 raw science. I then collected another 500 raw science, meaning I now had 4,000 raw science, which I had enough to buy the last science set. I then activated the Java-matic, commencing the final defense. Now I'm not going to show you too much here because I over-prepared way too much and the bugs really didn't even touch any of the mixers. It was now late at night and it finally finished brewing, giving me a filled and beginning cell. Now that was about 2 hours away before it became day 81, so I booked it back to the very start of the game, getting the last burgle sign set on the way, and I was stressing out so much I got stuck here and was losing precious time. I then spammed through all of Wendell's dialogue, and then activated the spacer with probably mere minutes left. And just like that, I went big and I went home. Finishing off 80 days in the yard with 4,244 kills and almost 5,200 perfect blocks, which is insane. And of course, I got the 100%. And the final death count for the 80 days in WoAH mode is... it's actually 9, not 6. I used the load last save feature, which actually doesn't count towards the deaths. But thank you all for watching my 80 days grounded playthrough, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.